Hello and welcome to Ultimate C++ Programming course from Novice to Expert. First of all, thank you very much and congratulations for taking this course. We hope we'll be able to make a big difference in your future regarding the C++ programming. Now, before moving into this particular course, it is really important that what you should expect from this particular course. Now, first of all, what this course is for, right? What type of people can take this course? My mission is to teach you C++ to the level where you can become a C++ programmer and get a job, right? Whether you are new to programming, even if you are experienced in another programming language, or you are just looking to develop your C++ skills, this course is for you. Moving further, and in this particular section itself, we will be discussing some important topics like the course overview section, where we will be seeing each and every lecture. We will be seeing the flow of this particular course, how to approach this course, and how you can get the best out of this course. We'll be seeing how you can ask questions to us, how you can use the Q&A section, how you can even personally message me for this course, even if you have certain kind of doubts and etc. If you obviously, we are going to give you some practical examples, some practical files, how to approach these files, how to approach videos in which practical questions have been solved. Everything will be discussed in the future when we will be into the course curriculum overview video. Thank you very much, and again congratulations for giving us an opportunity to enhance you in a way that you will be reaching stars. Thank you very much. See you in the future lectures. Happy learning.
Hello and welcome to the video on course curriculum overview. In this video, we'll just have a short little discussion on all the topics covered in the course and the flow. So you will get overview of all the subjects or content that you're going to receive in this course. So let's get started. The first thing or the section that we have is your basic C++ syntax section. In this particular section, we have covered different topics that include maybe how to add comments in your C++ code, or some concepts like how to bring the cursor to the next line endl, or how do you make your C++ programs more user interactive. So how to work with user input in C++. So these are the some things that we have covered in the section of basic C++ syntax. Now, the next section that we have is about your variables and data types that we have in C++. So what is a variable? Why do we use variables? The variable part is what you call the core crux of any programming language, not only in C++, but if you learn different programming languages like Java, Python, or C, or whatever you want, the variable part will remain the same. So how do you work with variables in C++, and what are different data types available in C++? Like what are different types of variables that you can create in C++? So these are your building blocks or foundation for your programming journey that you will cover in the course. So variables and data types, some topics like strings or maybe character type variables or booleans, integers, floats, etc., have been covered in detail in this section. Moving on, the next topic we have is simply operators in C++. So operators are like basically your mathematical functions like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. All these operators are covered in this section. So you have made variables, you are aware about different data types that you have. Now how do you operate within those data types and variables? That part will be covered in this section. So basically you can say that different types of mathematical calculations that can be done with the help of operators are covered here in the operators section. Next section that we have is about the loops and different conditional statements that we have in C++. Like you have if statements, if else statements, and then there's one more concept of if else ladder. So if you want to check multiple if and else conditions, we use a concept called if and else ladder. Then we have switch case, and moving on, these were all the statements. Moving on, we have different kinds of loop in C++, like for loop, while loop, do while loop. And next we have the break and continue statements or keywords that we add inside the loop to terminate the loop at a particular point. So those keywords are also covered, and each loop is covered in detail: for loop, while loop, do while loop, and your statements like if else and if else ladder and switch statements. So this was about the section number 5 of loops and statements. Moving on, the next section that we have is arrays in C++. So Arrays is also a common topic in different programming languages like Java, C, and C++. And Python, you have arrays in the form of NumPy array, and also there is a concept called list in Python. But here we will restrict ourselves to arrays in C++. Like, how do you work with arrays? How do you store data into an array? Or how do you retrieve data into an array? Or how do you calculate some of the elements of array? Or how do you change the elements present inside the array? All these concepts, or how do you store user input into the array? All these concepts are covered in detail in the section of arrays. Moving on, the most important concept of any programming language is how do you work with functions inside that particular programming language. And in C++, how to work with the return keyword in functions, or how do you define a function, or how do you call a function, what is difference between declaration and definition of the functions, and functions with parameters, functions without parameters, functions that return something, or functions that don't return, void type functions. So now all the basic things and somewhat advanced stuff in the functions have been covered inside this. And one more concept that we have discussed in this section is about the function overloading concept. How do you use the concept of function overloading? And after covering the basics of functions inside this particular section only, we have two more topics like pointers in C++, and then how to use recursion. Very important concept, recursion, that pointers and recursion also have been discussed in the functions sections. So function sections is very, very important. Moving on to the next thing, we have structures in C++. Now structures is very similar or a miniature definition for our next object-oriented programming stuff, but all the concepts related to structures, like what is the main difference between a structure and function, or how do you use enumeration in C++, like, or how do you store user input variable in structures, how do you declare a structure, or how can you store different data types like integer, string inside one structure, and how do you work with structure functions. All these have been covered inside the structures part in a C++ section number 8. Now after covering the structures, we have one section 9 called logical and conceptual questions in C++. So up till now we have covered different topics like structures, functions, pointers, recursion, loops, if statements, basic C++ syntax, or arrays, everything. This is a significant amount of content, and what we have done, we have introduced one section called logical and conceptual questions. Here in this section you will find different types of problems. We have given a total of 15 problems, like how do you perform searching on arrays, or how do you sort to an array, or how do you print different kind of patterns in C++, or how do you find some of different array elements, or let's say you want to reverse an array, or you want to find a largest element from the array. All these kind of different questions that use the concepts of your loops, conditional statements, arrays, functions. So a mixture of all the concepts, and the questions are designed very beautifully that will try to cover and test your different concepts that we have covered in the previous video sessions. So this section 9 is very important, logical and conceptual questions. Each and every question is detailed, is discussed in detail in the 15 different practice problem videos we have. So this was about your section number 9. And then after covering the concepts and after testing all the concepts and practicing different questions, we have our project number 1. So this is a complete C++ project, and because we haven't touched object-oriented programming in C++ till this section, I have chosen the topic of the project that does not cover the concepts of object-oriented programming. So project 1 will be based on the concepts that we have discussed, like function structures or arrays or something like this. So this will be your project number 1. Now moving on to next section, that is section number 11 of our course, the object-oriented programming. So object-oriented programming is you can call the heart of the OOP type programming languages. So basically you have two types of programming languages. One is your procedure-oriented programming language, and second one is your object-oriented programming language. The languages like C are procedural-oriented programming languages, and the languages like C++, Java, Python are object-oriented programming languages. So how do you build the object-oriented methodology, and what are different terms like classes, objects, or access specifiers or methods? The functions that we have covered in the previous section will now be referred as methods because they are linked to a class. So all these concepts, like we have few more concepts that are typically related to the object-oriented programming, like constructors, encapsulation, interfaces, all those inheritance, all those concepts have been covered here in the object oriented programming. So object oriented programming is a common term for different OOP languages like Java, Python, etc. But because we are studying specifically for C++, so the syntax that we'll be using will be related to C++, and all the concepts and all the features and functionalities that C++ provides us in OOP will be used over here. So this will be the very important section of the course. Now moving on, let's try to go few more topics of the OOP, like overloading in C++. Function overloading we have already studied in the functions part. Here we will study how to overload operator. So operator overloading will be considered in this section. Next we have inheritance, one of the most important topic of the object oriented programming. So how do you use functionalities or variables or data of one particular class into a different class? So this all will be covered in inheritance. One more concept of object oriented programming is have polymorphism, that is covered over here in this section. After completing the OOP part, we move to the error handling part. Like for example, if you let's discuss a mathematical scenario. So for example, if you are trying to perform any operation, and in that mathematical operation you're trying to divide a number by 0, so that is mathematically not valid because the answer will become infinity. If you try to divide a number by 0, the answer will technically become infinity. That is mathematically not possible. So how do you handle different kind of errors in C++? Like let's say a certain type of error happens in your program. So instead of terminating or the code stops running, you can just print a message that so and so error has happened. So this type of error handling is performed in this section of C++. Now again we have one more section for logical and conceptual questions. This time we have discussed 5 different questions that will be based on the concepts of OOP, object oriented programming, like inheritance, polymorphism, abstract classes, constructors, etc, etc. So these questions that are included in this section, logical and conceptual questions part 2, that is section number 16, will be based on OOP concepts. Here the array functions will be used as a sub concept, or few keywords will be used from all the arrays or functions type, but main logic of the questions will be based on OOP, like inheritance or something like that. So this was the next section, and moving on we have project number 2. Now this project number 2 is completely based on stack data structure. So you will also get idea of stack data structure. Before directly moving on to the coding of the project 2, we have some videos that will explain not the C++ and OOP part, but what is a stack and how do you use a stack data structure. If you are not aware about the concept of data structures, we have one dedicated video that will explain the concept of data structures, and then we'll move to the coding part. So this was about project number 2. Next topic we have is file handling. So how do you work with files through your C++ programming? Like for example, usually up till now when we'll be doing our coding part, so we'll be typing our code on the terminal or the IDE or the online compiler that we are using, and after doing the code, when we close the terminal or IDE or compiler, the data will be vanished. But for example, if I want to store a particular message into a file, so how do I write data into files through my C++ programming, or how do I read some text from my files and I want to use it into my code, or I want to print that text on the screen through my C++ code through a text file. So all these concepts will be discussed here in the concept of file handling. Now next topic we have is the concept of dynamic memory allocation in C++. So some keywords like new or delete will be covered over here. Like we won't take the predefined memory for our C++ code, but memory will be allocated dynamically at the runtime based on the requirement of our program in the dynamic memory section. This is a little bit more technical, so I will not discuss it in very detail over here, but this will be very clear when you move to section number 19 of dynamic memory in C++. Next we have namespaces in C++. Again, how do you define namespaces, or what is a namespace, or using namespace or nested namespaces? Everything has been covered in the section number 20 of namespaces in C++. Next we have our project number 3. All the concepts used in the course, like from OOP to arrays to functions to XYZ, whatever have been discussed in the course, all the things will be used in the project number 3. Next, we have advanced C++ introduction. Some topics, because this is just the introduction for advanced C++, some topics like templates or preprocessors or signal handling through C++ have been discussed over here in advanced C++ introduction. And last and finally, we have a C++ questions and answers video. This section contains different questions and answers that are used for your interview. If you go, once you're done with the course and you're clear with all the concepts, we have tried to cover some typical interview questions that are asked very frequently for C++. So this is the complete content overview of the course, what you will be getting, and the course overflow that you can expect throughout your journey. I wish you all the best for this course, and now let's get started and move to the next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the video in the section of course overview. In this video we are going to discuss about why C++. We'll try to compare the pros and cons of learning C++, and also we'll try to compare the C++ language with other programming languages like C or Java or Python. So let's get started. So first, let us see some of the features that C++ provides us. The first one, as you can see, it's a mid-level programming language, and it's very well-structured programming language. So C++ gives you the both the approaches. You can work with the object-oriented approach and maybe the procedure-oriented approach. We'll discuss this object-oriented and procedure-oriented approach in very detail in the upcoming sections of this course. So this was just an introduction to the different type of coding styles that C++ has. And the next one we have is rich library. So there are a lot of inbuilt functions that we can perform, and they are already stored inside the C++ libraries. So we just have to directly import the libraries, and instead of building our core logic from scratch, we can directly import and use the functions from the libraries already available in C++. So C++ is a rich library. Next we have, it has very efficient memory management. And of course we have one more concept of recursion that will be discussed in very detail in the section when we are going to discuss about functions. So this recursion concept is very important, and it's used to solve different kind of problems through our programming. So recursion can be implemented through C++. It's a very fast language. It works very close to the system hardware. Next, it's a compiler based language. And next we have the C++ gives you an feature of using pointers. Now pointers, if I want to technically or formally define pointer, so it's just another C++ variable that stores address of another variable. So pointer is a C++ variable that stores address of another C++ variable. This pointers concept is not available in Java and Python, but the concept of pointer you can find in C and C++. Although C is not a object-oriented language, so maybe C++ is the only object-oriented language that gives you the concept of pointers. This pointers concept also will be discussed in detail inside the function section. Next we have, it's a very portable language, and it's a object-oriented that we have discussed already, and we have a separate section for object-oriented programming. Like we'll discuss concepts like what are classes, or maybe objects, or inheritance, polymorphism. All those OOP terms will be discussed in detail over there. Now next we have, it's a very simple and easy to understand syntax, because if you're already familiar with the syntax of C language, or if you've coded in C before, so it will be very easy for you to understand the syntax of C++, and it's extensible. So these were some of the features that C++ provides us. Now let's move to the next slide. And here we have compared the pros and cons of C++. So in the pro side, as you can see, we have portability, multi-level programming language. Again, C++ is an object-oriented programming language, multi-paradigm programming language, memory management, fast and very powerful language. Cons are it still gives the feature of pointers, while Java and Python doesn't give. No garbage collection. It's slightly complex. No built-in threads. It's less flexible, and no custom operators are available in C++. So these were some of the pros and cons that C++ has. Now let's try to compare C++, Java, and Python. So if we look at the topic of memory management, then C++ has manual allocation and manual deallocation. But Java gives manual allocation but automatic garbage collection. Now Python moves one step ahead, and it gives automatic allocation and automatic deallocation. Okay, so this was about the memory management. Next we have code length of the code. It's usually seen the length of Python code is probably the smallest among C++, Java, and Python. So C++ has longer lines of code as compared to Python, and about 40% of more code in C++ in Java, and 3 to 5 times shorter than Java programs. This is about Python. Now, typing system. C++ is statically typed, both code and compiler. Java is also statically typed, both code and compiler. And but Python is dynamically typed. Interpreter is strongly typed, and language is type free. And compiling, C++ code is like compiled to the machine code, but Java compiles it to the byte code, and then it is interpreted by the JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine. All these terms we are not going to discuss in detail because this is just in basically the overview of the comparison that we're trying to do between different programming languages that are available, C++, Java, and Python. And in Python, it is told that interpreted by the Python interpreter. Execution speed, as you can see here, it's given. Now, portability, platform dependent, and it must be recompiled. C++ program must be recompiled for different platforms. Now, Java is platform independent, and byte code generated that the Java program generates, it works on every OS. And Python is platform independent because code is interpreted upon execution. So thread support, C++ gives built-in thread support, and it has built-in thread support. Python does not give no multi-threading. And one more thing is that Python uses indentation, and C++ and Java use the curly braces and semicolon. So there is no concept of semicolon as a line terminator in Python. It only works on indentation. But in C++ and Java, we have to use the curly braces inside our loops, or maybe in terminating statements, we use semicolon. So the syntax will be discussed in the detail in the next few sections. I hope you are clear with the overview of like why C++ in this video. So thanks for watching this video. Now let's move to the next video. Hello and welcome to the video on setting up your compiler for C++ programming. So throughout the course we'll be using two different type of compilers. In the first initial sections of the course, like your basic C++ syntax or variable data type section, we'll be using this online GDB compiler. I'm repeating this one more time, online GDB compiler. So you don't have to download or install or set up any compiler into your system. You just have to simply go to Google and search for online C++ compiler, and you just have to simply click on the first link, that is online GDB compiler. So this is an online compiler that can be used for different programming languages. Like as of now we are working with C++. If you click on C, you can also type your code in C, or as of will be working in C++. This is for R. So different programming languages are available in this compiler, but we'll be working on C++. So what we can do, this is the basic structure of the online GDB compiler for working with your C++ programming. You have the necessary header file already included, and then you have a using namespace std already written, and next we have the basic structure of the C++ program. All this technical stuff we'll discuss in the next section, but as of now you just remember you can use this as one of your compiler for writing your C++ code. Detailed discussion will be there in the next few sections. So this was the first thing related to online GDB compiler. Next compiler that we'll use in our course, after moving to some advanced sections like maybe file handling or OOP or functions array, something like that, will be your dev C++ IDE. So this is not, dev C++ is not an online compiler. It is an complete IDE, integrated development environment. So what you can do, simply I just have to minimize the screen and I can open my dev C++ over here, that is already installed on my system. So it will open something like this, dev C++ 5.11 version. So here this is an IDE that you need to download and set up on your Windows from Google. So after, first let me tell you how you can download this IDE on your system. So here just open a new tab and write dev C++ download for Windows, and then you can click on the first thing that you're getting, and here just click on the download button, and it will tell you your download will start shortly. And once the timer is over, you just have to wait for a few seconds and this download will start. Because I have already downloaded this, so I'm cancelling this download. And once this is downloaded, you just have to set up it on your system. And after everything is done, you will get one desktop icon like this, and double click on this desktop icon and this IDE will be opened. Now to start coding in this IDE, what you need to do, you need to create a new project. So to create a new project, just go to your file menu and click on new and open the project option, and here select console application and let's name this test underscore project. So this is my test underscore project and this is a C++ project. So the C++ is selected over here and we are interested in making a console application. So always select this console application, click on OK, and then it will tell you where do you have to save this project. You can select the folder of your desired destination and save it there, and you will get this um, structure of code. Again, you're getting the user namespace, some header file and the main function. What we'll do, how to write code over here and how to add most of that technical discussions is there in the next few sections. But as of now, to run this code, you just need to save this and you have to give the name to your C++ file. For example, this is hello.cpp. So always use the .cpp extension and just click on save. To bring the dialog box or the new window for saving, just press Ctrl S, you will get it. Otherwise you can go into file and again click on save, right? And then for example, if I want to write some code and I need to run it, so let me write some code, hash into diostream, and then I have using namespace std. This is not a tutorial for coding, this is just for testing purpose. So integer main, and if I want to print a statement hello, so if I save this code and if I click on this button to compile and run, and then it will take some time to compile the code and then it will run the code after compilation is over. So as you can see, I'm getting this hello, what I have written over here. So this is how you can set your dev C++ ID, or you can use the online GDB compiler. Both the things have been shown in this video, and now let's move to the next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the video on basic C++ syntax. In this lecture, we will see some common lines of code that we'll use in almost every C++ program. As you can see on your screen, you have a small C++ program written. What this program does is it will print hello world on the screen. Now, let us understand the structure of this program. On the first line that you can see, it's written hash include iostream. This iostream is known as the header file. This is the common header file for each and every C++ program. What this header file does, it has all the input and output functions provided in C++. So basically, if you have a look on this line, what it tells that cout into quotes hello world. So what this line will do, it will print hello world on the screen, and the keyword used for printing hello world is cout. Basically, this cout functionality is provided in iostream header file by C++. So it's necessary to include this iostream header file in your C++ program. The next line that we can see is using namespace.std. We'll discuss this line in detail in the upcoming slides. Now let us move on to the main function. As you can see, this is the main function of our program. The C++ compiler starts executing your program from the main function. For example, when you will run this code, the compiler will move on to this line, and what it will do, it will execute this line. It will print hello world. So if you have written something else over here, so it will print in that manner. So what we can see here is the execution of your C++ program starts from the main function. Now, one important thing to notice here is the semicolon. The semicolon in C++ is known as the line terminator. Basically, every line of code in C++ ends with a semicolon. If you don't write a semicolon after the line of code, then the compiler will throw an error. And now let us move on to the next slide. It's regarding the iostream. So what it tells, it's the common header file that contains all the input output operations. This is the common thing in C++. Like when we have to take input from the user, we use cin. This we'll see in the upcoming lectures. But as you can see on the last slide, we have used cout and two angular brackets and the hello world. So what the cout basically does is it will print the text written between the quotes on the screen. So here we have used cout, and this cout functionality, as I told, is already provided in the IO stream. That's the header file. So the header file is mandatory to include at the beginning of every C++ program. Now coming to the namespace std. So here, what you can see, I have written the same C++ program, but this using namespace std is not present here. Now let us go back to that program. Here this line, and in this program, this using namespace.std is not present here. So if we don't use using namespace.std, then we have to use std colon cout every time we want to print something on the screen. So it's better to use using namespace.std to declare that we are using this cout for printing our text on the screen. So to avoid using std colon cout to use this every time, it's better that we declare using namespace std after declaring our header file. We'll see this thing in detail when we move on to the practical video, then it will make much more sense. Now moving on to the next line. See here, as I was telling you, the execution of your program will begin from here. For example, this program, when we'll run this in the compiler, what it will do, it will print hi and then it will print hello. So the execution will start from the first line of the main function. For example, if I add one more line here, cout hello world. So what the output of this program will be, first it will print hi, that's the first line of the main function, then it will move to the next line, that's hello, and if I add the third line, then it will print hello world. So the important thing to note here, the execution of your code will begin from the first line of main function. So this is important to remember. Now, as already told, cout we use in C++ to display some text on the screen. Like here, this is the general syntax for cout. Every time if you want to print anything, it's just not volatile text on also. You can also print integers or anything else. So what you have to do, you have to just write cout and remember this two angular brackets. Write this and then into the quotes the text that you want to print on the screen. This is the common syntax for printing anything on the screen, right? And one necessary thing, make sure to use a semicolon to end your code on end your line of the code. Every statement in C++ ends with a semicolon that we've already discussed. The next important point to remember is C++ compiler will start executing your code from the first line of main function. Code inside the main function should be written between curly brackets. See here. The main function, after you write int main and close these brackets, you have to open a curly bracket and you have to also close that curly bracket. The lines written between these two curly brackets will be executed in that order respectively by the compiler. So this thing is also important, you should remember this. And the most important thing is always remember to include the IO stream header file at the start of your program. Thank you. And welcome to this lecture on comments in C++. In this video, we are going to have a look on how we can add comments in our code and how comments can be useful while writing your code. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Comments are basically the portions of the code that are ignored by the compiler when it's compiling your code, and mostly it's used by programmers to make simple notes of some relevant areas of the code. And one more thing about comments, that comments you can add in one single line, or we can also add a multi-line comment in C++. So basically what this slide says is, for example, when you're writing some piece of code or you're developing some logic while you're coding your program. So what you can do, you can write some comments that compiler will not execute, and it's only for the programmer to understand the logic behind the code. Okay. Now let's see the syntax for the comment, how we can add a comment. For example, while writing your code, you can use this double slash and type some text. So that whole particular line will be commented out by the C++ compiler. For example, if you want to write a multi-line comment, the comment in the form of paragraph or that will not fit into one single line. So what you can do a slash star and end the comment with the star slash. Okay, again I'm telling slash star star slash, and whatever text that is written between these two and the slash star and the star slash will be a multi-line comment. This will be more clear to you guys when we move on to the practical section. But as of now, you just remember the syntax. For one single line comment, you have to use double slash, and for multi-line comments, you have to use the syntax slash star and star slash. Okay, now let's move to the practical part. Welcome to the practical section of the comments. What we are going to do, firstly I'll demonstrate how you can add a single line comment. For example, we want to tell the programmer that what is the functionality of this line, basically what this line is going to perform in the program. So what we can do, we can bring the cursor here and we can type a double slash, and then what we can write, this line will print hello world on the screen. So what the programmer will understand, that this line will print hello world on the screen, and when you try to run this code, this commented part will be excluded by the compiler, and only this hello world will get printed. You can write anything in the comment like, hi, this is another random comment. You can also write your name, Udemy, or you can write something else maybe. Basically, it is going to be ignored by the compiler while executing your code. One more thing that I want to show you is how you can add a multi-line comment. For example, what you can do, you can write slash star and star slash. So here what you can do, in between these two symbols, anything that you will write, that will be considered as a comment. For example, this is a multi-line comment. We can write it for many more lines. So this is a multi-line comment. Basically, the compiler will ignore this thing, whatever is written between these two symbols. Again, if you write something here, it won't be considered as the comment. As you can have a look from the color, that whenever you will write a comment, the color will be changed to this light brownish color. Okay, so this thing is about the comment. One more thing that you guys might be thinking, that what is the need for adding comments for each and every line. Adding comments in your code is a good coding practice, and at this stage you might not feel the need to add it, but as we move ahead in this course, you will learn many complex programs and design some functions. So if any other programmer or any other coder reads your code, so if you have added the comments, then it will be easier for him or her to understand what your code is doing. Okay, I hope this is clear. Thank you for watching. Hello and welcome back. In this video, we are going to understand the functionality of endl in C++. Okay, what endl is used to insert a new line character and flush the stream to the next line. Let me explain you this in a more practical language. Now, what we'll do for the demonstration purpose, we'll have a look at this program. Okay, so as you already know, this is the header file that is compulsory to include in all our programs, the namespace std, and here starts the main function. So now in the main function, what do we have? The line says cout, hello, endl, and again this operator and world, and finally we're ending this line with a semicolon. Okay, now what I suggest you guys is to pause the video and try to predict the output of this program, and keep one thing in mind, that this is the normal cout functionality that we have already looked, and this endl, what it does, it pushes the cursor into the next line. Okay, so now I'm moving ahead, and see, we'll get the output in this way. So what it does here, the hello is printed in one line. After that, we have used endl. So what endl did, it pushed the cursor into the next line, and after that we are writing world. So as a result, the world is visible not in the first line but in the next line. So endl is very useful if you want to make your output look very clean and it looks really neat while you use endl. So now you'll understand this part much better when we move on to the practical part. Okay, moving on to the practical part of endl. Here we'll try to understand the functionality of endl and how we can use it in our C++ programming. So here I have written the basic C++ program, and first, without doing anything else, let us run this code and see what we're getting as the output. When we run this code, we'll simply get hello world as the output. Okay, let's write one more cout statement. Udemy C++ course, and again let's end the statement with a semicolon. Now can you guys think what will be the output of this code? Okay, let's run this. So hello world, Udemy C++ course, everything is printed in one single line. What if I want to print this Udemy C++ course in the next line? So what I have to do, I have to add endl here. So what it will do, it will bring the cursor onto the next line, and as soon as the cursor reaches the next line, the compiler will move here and execute this statement. So how will be the code executed when we write endl? First of all, cout hello world. That's the normal thing, hello world, which will be printed on the screen. Then the compiler sees endl. Okay, here it's endl. So I have to move the cursor to the next line, and when it reaches the next line, the compiler will execute Udemy C++ course. So let's run this code and now have a look at the output. Okay, now you can see hello world Udemy C++ course, right? Now again, if I write one more statement, let's write demo statement, and what we'll do again, we'll end this line with the semicolon. Now try to predict the output of this code. Okay, let's run this and see again. What do you have? Hello world is printing in one line, and these two are getting printed in the same line. Why? Because we haven't written endl here. So what we can do, if we want to print all these three statements into different lines, then we have to add a endl here. So again, if I write endl, then what will happen? Hello world first line, Udemy C++ course second line, and the demo statement will be printed in the third line. Okay. Now if I run this, see, now everything is printed in different lines. For generating the same output, we have one more method by using this endl and the cout statements. How? Let me show you that also. So what I can do, instead of using multiple cout statements, I'll use only one cout statement and we'll try to get the same output. I'll copy this and then I'll paste it here. Again, I'll copy this and I'll paste that here. Okay, we just have to write an endl here. So this line also is printed in the new line. Now, if I try to run this code, what will be the output? See, we are getting the same output, but this time we only used one cout statement instead of three cout statements. So by using this technique, you can write more efficient code in less number of lines. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Thank you for watching the video. Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we'll see how we can take user input in C++ programming. So till now what we have basically done, we use the cout statements that are present in the hash include iostream header file just to print values on the screen. But if we want to make our program a little bit more user interactive and more for the practical usage, then it's really important for us to get the user input. The basic keyword or the syntax for getting user input is very similar to the cout, but here we have to use just cin, right? Cin is a predefined variable that reads the data from keyboard. Now let's look at the exact syntax. Here I have a sample program. The standard procedure is the same, like hash include I have streamed the header file using namespace std, and here the main function starts. What I have done, I have declared a variable called int(x). The data type of this variable is integer and the name of this variable is x. Now what I'm doing, I'm printing one cout statement, that is type a number. So what this cout statement will do, it will show the user this text will be visible on the screen, like type a number, right? Just after that cout statement, I'm using a cin statement. As previously told, cin statement is used for getting user input in our program. Okay, so what it will do, after writing the cin statement, the user can type a number from the keyboard to the compiler, right? After that, again I'm using the cout statement, and the cout statement will print your number is, okay, and your number is, and I'm writing x here. Okay, so what it will do, your number is, and x, the value stored in x will be the same value that the user enters through his or her keyboard in this cin statement part. This program will be you will understand it more clearly when we move on the practical section. So without any further delay, let's move to the practical part of this program. Okay, let's begin with the practical part of the cin, or how can we get user input in C++. Okay, first of all, just read this program that I'm typing and try to understand it. Okay, what I'll do, I'll write cout statement, and what it will say, enter your roll number, right? And we'll end the cout statement with a semicolon. If I run this code, then what I'll have as the output, let's see. Okay, it will just simply print enter your roll number and the program will end. Now if I want to make a more user interactive program, what I have to do, I have to take input from the user, right? So if we want the user to enter a roll number, then definitely we need a variable to store the roll number that the user wants to enter, right? So what we'll do, I'll declare one variable of integer type, because a roll number is an integer. So I'll declare the variable of integer type int, and I'll say it roll. Okay, so what I have done till now, I have made one variable called roll. I have declared it. I am not assigning any value to the variable right now, because in this program what our intention is to get a value from the user, and that value will be assigned into the variable roll. Okay, now what we can do, we'll write here roll. Okay, what we'll do, cin, and we'll write here roll. Now we'll try to execute this line. Okay, enter your roll number, and see the cursor is still blinking. The program has not ended yet. So what the compiler wants us to add an integer. Basically it is asking to enter your roll number. So what I'll do, I'll write just 7, and as soon as I press enter, the code will be executed completely. Now, so what you understood, basically here in the starting we have declared one variable called integer type called roll, and then we are printing one cout statement, enter your roll number. What it will do, it will just simply print this enter your roll number on the screen. After that, by using cin, we are taking the user input, and this variable name is written here, because what we want to store the integer that the user is entering into the variable that we have already declared, right? Now have a look at the syntax of this cin. It's pretty much similar to the syntax of the cout, just only this symbol is different. Instead of using the angular brackets on the left side, we'll simply use the angular brackets pointing towards right. The same two angular brackets pointing towards right, and we'll write the variable name in which we want to store the value that we are getting from the user. Okay, now let's complete this program, and what I'll do, I'll write cout roll. Okay, your roll number is, and this again operator sign, and I'll write roll. Okay, so what this will do, it will print your roll number is, and I'll write simply the variable name that I want to display. So I'll just explain the execution of this code one more time. What it does, in the first line we have declared a variable called roll. As of now it doesn't have any value. Moving on to the next line, we are writing cout, enter your roll number. This statement will simply print this text on the screen. After that, by using cin, what we are doing, we are taking the user input and we want to store that value into the variable called roll that we already declared. Coming on to the next line, this cout statement, it will print this text on the screen, your roll number is, and after that we are simply writing roll. So this roll as of now contains the value that user entered, right? So now let's try to run this program and see what do we have as an output. Okay, so what it does, enter your roll number, let's say 3, and if I press enter, your roll number is 3. Okay, so by using this cin and taking user input, you can make your programs more user interactive and you can use them for practical purpose. We'll see much more examples further in this course. Thank you for watching. Hello and welcome to the homework video for basic C++ syntax. So the format for these homework videos will be, we'll be having some tasks or questions in C++. I'll comment them out in this CPP file and we'll try to solve and discuss the solution for each and every question mentioned here in this homework video. So as you can see, I have commented out all 3 questions that we're going to solve for the basic C++ syntax homework video. So let's get started with the solution for the first question, that add a single and add a multi-line comment in C++. One more thing, the questions will be based on the things that are covered in this section for C++. For example, in this section of C++ course, we have covered how to add comments, what are comments, the basic structure of a C++ program like a cout statement, or how do you print things in C++. Next, we have covered about the how do you take your cursor to the next line, what is the specific keyword, and how do you take user input in C++. So these 3-4 things we have covered in this section. So the questions will be based on all the concepts that are covered in the particular section. For example, in the next upcoming sections, if we try to cover some loops or conditional statements, so all the questions that will be discussed in the homework video will be from the concepts covered in that particular section. After seeing all the required things, let's get started with the questions. So let's try to solve the first question. First, the question says add a single and multi-line comment in C++ code. So first of all, to add a comment in C++ code, we need to have one C++ code. So first, let me write a simple C++ program. First, I'll include my header file. Next is using namespace std, and then I have my main function. This was the basic structure of our C++ program. This is the common header file that we include in every C++ program using namespace std, and this is our main function. So inside our main function, let me write a cout statement. So let's write hello world, and let me end this. If I save this code and if I try to run this file, let's wait till it is compiling, and now as you can see in the output we have hello world. So this is our basic standard C++ hello world program. So firstly we have to add a single line comment. So for single line comment, the syntax was a double slash. So you just need to write a double slash, and whatever you write after that double slash in that particular line, that will be considered as a single line comment. So I can write this is a single line comment, and if I try to run this code again, So as you can see, the comment has no effect on our code that we've already discussed. Now, after adding a single line comment, let's add a multi-line comment. And the syntax for adding a multi-line comment was slash star and star slash. So whatever you write between these two operators or symbol will be considered as a multi-line comment. So I can write this is a multi-line comment. So this is a multi-line comment. Whatever you write between these two symbols will be considered as a multi-line comment. If I try to compile and run this code, as you can see, again nothing has happened. So this is the solution for our first program. Now let me comment out the entire solution so that we can start the discussion for our second question. I hope you guys are clear with the solution for the first question. Now let's move to question number 2. And question number 2 says that which keyword is used to move cursor onto the next line, and write one program in C++ to perform the same task. So question 2 is asking, okay, let me write here question 1, and now moving on, we'll start our discussion for question 2. So question 2 was saying that which keyword is used to move your cursor to the next line, and we have to write a C++ program for the same. So if you don't remember, we have a keyword called endl to move your cursor to the next line. For example, I'll demonstrate this with the help of one quick C++ program. So again, I have my header file, and using namespace std, and then inside my main function, let's write two cout statements. First is hello world, and then the next cout statement will be how are you. So these are two cout statements that I have written. Okay, let me put a semicolon over here to end this line. And now if I try to execute this code, it says hello world, how are you. So although I have written these two textual statements in different cout statements, but still it's showing one after another horizontally. So first hello world is printed, and then how are you is printing in the same line over here. But what I want to take the cursor to the next line, and I want this how are you to be printed in the next line. So for that, what I can do, I can again write this operator and write endl. And if I save this code and try to run this, so as you can see now, hello world and how are you is getting printed in the next line. Because of the endl, this endl takes the cursor to the next line after completion of this statement. So once the execution of this statement is done, then compiler reaches at this endl, and this endl keyword is used to take the cursor to the next line. So once endl is executed, the cursor moves to the next line, and in the next line, this cout statement, the output for this cout statement can be seen. So I hope this is very clear to you. How do you use endl? So this was a solution for question number 2. Now moving on to question number 3. So we have discussed the first question for comments, second was endl, and third question, let us see how to take user input in C++, and we have to write one C++ program to perform this task. So this is our question number 3. Again, very simple. As you know, we use cout keyword to print whatever we want to, the text that we want to show on the screen. But again, if you want to take user input or make user interactive programs in C++, then you need to use cin. So how to do that? Let's quickly write one program. Again, same hash include iostream, and using namespace std. Now I have my main function. Into my main function, first of all, let me write one cout statement. What is your name? So this is a cout statement, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to make, okay, let's make it what is your age. Okay, and then I'm going to make one more variable called int age, and this int age will be used to store input for the age that user will enter. So let me cut this and paste it on the top of my cout statement. So this int age will take user input for this age. And now finally what we can do, cout your age is and here we can simply write age. So let me save and run this program and see what do we have in the output. So what is your age? And it is waiting for user input. Let's write 18. So it tells your age is 18. If I try to run this code again, and this time I at 29, so it tells your age is 29. So with the help of this in keyword, and this time as you can see, the sign of this operator is reversed. Earlier both of these angular brackets were pointing towards left while you work with out keyword, and if you work with in keywords, both the angular brackets are pointing towards right. So these are all questions for the homework part in basic C++ syntax. I hope you are clear with all the concepts that we've discussed in this section, and now let's move to the next video. Thank you.